again.
You could be on my team.
Okay, because I had already decided. I don't know. That's why I was thinking, like, oh, he's old and he's on.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and video it for
So we're gonna, okay, hold on, I gotta sit down. Okay, wait, you gotta cover this part.
There was no warning on the video part.
You gotta cover up a little.
Yeah.
It's her
Hold on,
birthday
let me
today.
turn my phone down.
Why
I'm
do you
gonna take
gotta
a-
Well, y'all sing then, and
It's her birthday today. She said it.
Yeah, it's gonna be better. It'll be better.
Why
At least you got
do you have to say that? It's gonna get better.
We're gonna go ahead and start. And like I said, today's workshop is really about getting to know instructors that we've selected today, and they're gonna go and share with you information on how to be a successful student, or just give them tips on things they can do to achieve their goals. So first, if you could tell us your name, where you attended college, and degrees that you earned.
Okay, do you want me to go first? I'm Alma Lopez, and I'm in the math and engineering department, and this is my 31st year, and I have a bachelor's in applied mathematics from Eastern New Mexico University, and then I have a master's in applied mathematics and statistics from Eastern New Mexico University.
Scott Buchanan. I teach history here at SBC, 20 years in January. I have a bachelor's from Eastern New Mexico University in history. Started day one as a history major, and then a master's from Texas Tech in history and a PhD in medieval European history from Texas Tech as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. What courses do you currently teach, and why are the courses that you teach important for students to take? Like, why would you say your subject is important?
Well, I teach all the maths through business statistics, and so I teach all the statistics courses too. And they're important because math is in everything we do, and so is statistics, especially approaching an election year. In my stats courses, one of the messages that I give them is that we need to be educated consumers of statistics. You can't just believe a number because you hear it. So that's one of the things that I think is important about my stats courses. And math, I mean, it's really important to be able to set a budget. It's really important to know your average expenditures. And I mean, it's just important to know how to do math. Nothing else. It teaches you logic.
Sure. I teach the U.S. surveys as well as Western civilizations, so I'll go with that latter one because that's one I have to justify the most. But all of them, it's hard to put numbers on any benefits, and we get to take a lot of heat for that recently. Is how can you quantify the value of this? And my response to that question is that it's nice to be able to make money in our economy and have a nice living and buy things, but you don't have the civilization that protects that without understanding the history and the civilization that you're dealing with. So it's a big picture answer, but that's where we go.
Right. As far as why did you choose your major, or why did you choose your career?
Well, I was pre-law for a couple of years. And then my advisor one day told me, he said, you are now taking senior level math. And you've taken every math class available, but you're not taking the courses I keep signing you up for. And so he changed my major. And I was also taking computer science courses. So I accidentally just was doing what I loved. And it took me longer. I was kind of stubborn and blind to it. I didn't realize that math and statistics was what I was supposed to be doing. And then I literally accidentally became a math professor because I went off and applied for a job with the Department of Defense, got it. And when they showed me my office, and it was this little tiny cubicle with a computer and it was dark, I thought, I'm going to wilt. So I went and got my master's degree because I'd won a scholarship for that. And then when I finished that, I thought, I still don't want to be a teacher, but I needed more. I needed money because, food was expensive. So my brother had run track here And he said, you should get a job here while you go to Tech and get your doctorate. So I started a PhD program there, never finished it because by the end of the first semester, I fell in love with this job. So I think if you don't push yourself into something and that you think you're supposed to like me being an attorney, now it's laughable, because I'm older and I know myself. But when you're younger, you kind of think, well, I need to be this. And you just really do need to explore and then step back every now and then and look to see what you really like. And you'll make a wonderful living and you'll be very happy if you do something you like.
Yes. I chose history as a profession around age 8.
Complete opposite.
The complete opposite. I did explore other venues, law enforcement, and a couple of other things, but those were flirtations. And so I'm back into history, and when I get bored with it, I'll stop. But it's not happened recently.
What advice would you give as far as for students to be successful in college?
My very, very most important is to network. Meet as many other students in your classes as you can. Introduce yourself and get to know your professors. Later when you want internships or scholarships, the instructors are going to need to give you reference letters. If we don't know who you are, I don't give them to students I don't know. Even if they've been my student, I can say they were a good student. They did well on the tests, but I can't say anything about you personally as far as integrity or your work ethic unless I know you a little better. So especially in the area that you're interested in, like this young man is an engineering major. So you definitely want to get to know those instructors because that's who's going to be able to give him a scholarship recommendation or a great internship or a great insight to something. And I always tell students, meet all the students you can also, because one day you're going to be sitting across the table from someone that you went to school with. They're going to say, hey, I recognize you. Did you go to Eastern? Right? And I may want a job from him or he may want one from me. In that little tiny thing, because it's a very small world. You don't think it's going to happen when you move to Arkansas or you move to North Dakota or something, but it will. And also get invested. Join the gym. And you're going, I don't like to work out. That's okay. Most people don't, but it's a neat place to meet people. And there's no way to underline it enough and highlight that networking is the most important thing. Go to the cafeteria and eat lunch once in a while. And you'll see people and sit down and say hi to them. And my last one, because I don't want to take up a lot of time, was I would get OneDrive cloud storage for your classes. I had a student last semester who lost a lot of stuff because they were trying to keep track of stuff on little jump drives and stuff still. And I'm like, we talked about it and we researched it. And a lot of universities have already encourage you to have a OneDrive account, even as a student, and save all of your stuff there. That way, if you lose your device or your phone, it doesn't matter. You can log in anywhere. So, it helps us as instructors because we can log in anywhere. But I think that's the only other piece of advice that is new for me this year. I tell students, keep your stuff in one place. That way, I can't turn in my paper because I don't have access to it. You do if you save it in a local place, or not local, in a place where you can access it from anywhere. So those are my 3: network, and network. And then network some more. And then also invest yourself in the college by joining different things, going different places, forcing yourself to say hi to people that are looking down at their phone, say good morning. And then next time they see you coming, they're going to look up because there's that crazy lady that says good morning and makes you say it back, right? And then, of course, my iCloud storage. I don't know what it's called. Is that what it's called?
OneDrive?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That.
I call it board drive because it assimilates everything.
Okay.
And being a historian, I don't trust it. And I don't trust it.
We are opposite and
That's
wonderful.
okay. But we
It's
can agree to
wonderfully
disagree.
opposite.
It's fine.
Yes.
Yes, it's new systems. I recently had my dissertation chair retired from tech, and he said the deciding factor, he's 70 years old but still going strong. He said, I'm tired of learning a new system every 2 years. So OneDrive, it's neat when it works, but yes, also don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay. So
Is it user error?
the nut behind the trigger, yes. You also took my networking. Networking, the only thing that I can add to that is support systems and stars for first generation predominantly. And my parents did go to college, but even though they had those degrees, culturally, it's a difficult thing because my siblings, there are three of us. I'm the only one my brother has 6 hours from SPC of credit, right? So you need to have connections who understand, and you don't want to be swimming through the world through your own without those connections. So that is something, if I'm complaining about my job, I'm digging post holes today, so shut up. So people who are having that same experience, sharing those connections in terms of adding to the network. And in terms of success, self-discipline is necessary, always has been. It's much tougher for you guys because of distractions, but investing in what you're learning or valuing what you're learning is important, which you touched on. And when I dismiss class and people grab their phone, I know that they've just flushed everything that was in their mind out. If it got in there, yes or no, but discipline, spending time outside of a class, contemplating the various arguments, figuring out what you think is important. So that's really what I would add to that.
Mhm. You know, one thing that I wanted to say, and you may agree with me, your sociology. I told my students, no, some of them, they'll say things like, Ms. Lopez, I'm just really lonely. Now, I'm like this big mom thing in the department, so they tell me stuff. And I told them, so I went in last semester, I was all gung-ho, and I told a lot of my classes, I said, have you ever felt lonely? I said, you're 18 years old, on the cusp of like the greatest like adventure, college, because you still don't really pay bills. It's the cusp of this amazing adventure, and they're lonely and they're depressed and they're sad. And I go, do you know, it's not the only thing that's causing it, but this thing isolates you like nobody's business. There are people, I want you to walk down the hall when you're going to class, and you'll see people like this. Do you know why? Because they're scared to look at you in the eyes and have to make eye contact. And like, you look at your beautiful little faces, except Manuel. And right? Oh, that's on the video. I'm sorry. No, but honestly, do you know how few people will look up as you're coming down the hall and say, good morning, right? I say it to everybody, whether they look up or not. And now they all do because they know I'm not going to stop. Because I was raised to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think that loneliness is not something you should be experiencing? You're young and beautiful and smart and on the cusp of so many wonderful experiences and adventures. And I think you just need to look up. Put that away. Put it in your backpack when you're walking down the hall. Don't do this. Because I'm sorry, nobody's that important. We're like, any second now, I might get a new TikTok notification. Alma's got a new TikTok. So yeah, just look up.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because in a way, this generation of students, they're the most connected, but they're also the most disconnected when it comes to, socialization or just interactions, which is kind of, in a way, it's kind of sad because that can lead to a lot of issues. But there also can lead to a lot of solutions. There's a lot of great things about the technology, but you also have to be careful with it. So,
can I tell this engineering major something?
Sure.
Do you know who the most badass engineering students I've ever had are?
Who?
Those that were social and they were tutors because they knew how to communicate. If you can communicate, you're going to be the boss.
He's a tutor.
If you can't communicate, no, but if you can't communicate, you get to be the worker bee.
Yes.
I'm just saying, and that's in every job. Those that can communicate, remember that. If you can communicate and you can get up and do it, you're going to be the boss if you want to be. Okay. I'm sorry. That's it.
Good information. So what should students, if they want to approach an instructor about problems or concerns or needing help in class, how should they do that?
I think you are probably like me. I like them to approach me in class. And I always tell them, I go, I know I'm scary, but please ask me. Or I always tell them, send me an email. Or if you're not comfortable asking me something during class, I take a break because my classes are long. They're like an hour and 45 minutes. So at 45 minutes, I'll take a 5 to 7 minute break and I'll say, ask me a break. Sometimes they'll ask to see me outside, or sometimes they'll follow me back to my office. So do that. And like I said, if you make sure that every semester, I have students that told me this works, introduce yourself. Hey, my name is Alma Lopez and I'm in your class. I just wanted to say hi. I'm really excited to learn about sociology, history, Western civilization. If you just say that and you're like, but I'm not going to mean it, Miss Lopez. That's okay. You fake it till you make it. You get that relationship started. And then later you may actually have something that you need to discuss with them, and it makes it where you're approachable because, they're approachable to you because you've already met them. You know what I mean? Standing up there, sometimes you feel like they're, I don't know, I don't think I'm scary, but sometimes students, it takes them a little while to get comfortable. And not everybody is as approachable, I think, as we are. So what's a neat tip about approaching? We work with Grumpy Gus's.
We do. In class, I usually have a pretty good luck with getting back and forth in class. Susanna's a work in progress, but I think, but she'll get past that. She's about as verbal as I was when I took the class she's taking from me. So there's hope for you. Yeah. It won't take you long to be way beyond where I was. It took me a very long time to get over not wanting to say anything in class. Again, the point I make at the start of every semester is office hours exist for students. That's the entire reason for office hours. And I don't care if the president of the college is in there. If a student shows up, he's out, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't answer calls.
I want to have, that's why we're there. So we are available. And throughout the college, we're pretty good about it. I feel like I don't know. I don't hear anything about
and
math.
Sometimes people close the door because they're cold. Okay, as we get older, we get cold. Okay, not me, but some people get cold. And so I've had students say, well, their door is closed. Sometimes they close the door literally for temperature reasons. I'm not kidding. So please knock. If they're in office hours, they want to see you, but some of them close their door because in my department, I'm serious. I have lots of people I work with that I'm like, why is your door closed? They're cold.
We're making TikToks.
Or making TikToks.
Yeah.
No, knock on the door. Yeah.
Is there, as far as studying goes, like how often is that important? Is it like, what do you think as far as what's your views on studying for?
Well, I always now, and I know that studying for your classes are different than studying for mine. In my classes, a lot of times I have students who are already scared of it. So I tell them, then don't wait. You make sure, like, even just have an hour every day that you have class, spend 1 hour in the tutoring lab. But Miss Lopez, I work better at home. I'm like, no, you don't. Because there's chocolate cake in the fridge. There's potato chips in the pantry. There's your roommate, your dog. Your mother's going to come in and say, mira, mijo, whatever it is, they're going to talk to you. And if you're in the lab, you're already in the zone. I mean, that sounds funny to say it that way, but you're already in that mindset of doing it. If you take it home, and he's nodding because he knows in math, when you take it home, there are times where you can open your notes and it's your handwriting, but you're like, what? Did I write that? But if you take care of it and at least start every assignment before you go home, it is, I don't know why, but it's so much easier to remember if you start everything before you go home, or try to get it done in a lab. You'll meet people in your class that way. The networking, study buddies, they don't happen if you're not in those labs.
Yes.
Oh.
And turn your phone off.
Yes.
Turn the phone off, put it away. It will call to you, but Yeah, I commuted a lot on most of my degrees. So I drove from Portales to Bovina. And that was a great opportunity. Turn the radio off and go through the lectures in my mind. And that again is, you hearing the lectures fine, but go through it again, run it through your mind, replay it in your mind, and that will help you out. And I think that's great. Yes, do it. Find a place to study that's without distraction. That's very important as well. And that's what you have to learn to do. So, yeah.
And I guess, is there anything else that y'all would like to discuss? Or I guess this is kind of like because there's something.
No.
I asked him if he wanted to go first. They
so
just
go
feel
for
like,
There's something that I didn't discuss or share or talk about, or something that you're like, oh, well, this is kind of important.
Okay.
have fun,
Yeah, have fun.
enjoy it.
Yes. I want to turn the camera off for the next part. It's a little bit negative. Okay. I'll say it on tape. That's fine.
They'll edit it.
I've there's also a pitfall. Yes, network. Yes, but be careful, because if you're struggling, sometimes you'll make a friend who's going to drag you down or push you down. And how should I say this? I've seen it and it infuriates me. I've even had a couple of tutors that did it. That I had a student who's struggling, and that student sort of moved in and took over the process and helped them fail. So if you think you're getting help, but it doesn't work out, then come to the office and say, work through that. We can help you get out of that. But I've seen
What you're saying is that you also have to be careful with your friends that you associate with in college, because
Right.
some people are not here to help you,
No.
and so if they're not helping you, or you're not successful with that group of friends, then you need to get yourself some new friends.
Yes.
And after every single exam, I always tell my students, I go, look at your grade. I said, are you happy with it? And some of them are like, yes, right. And then some are like, and I always tell them, come see me. I'll help you make a plan to do something different. And that is always, encouraged. I do that in all my classes. But even if you don't have a professor who says something like that, go to them and say, look, right now I'm studying like 1 hour a week here at this location. What can I do different? Tell them what you're doing. I'm practicing. I do all the homework, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Can you help me with a plan to move forward and do better in your class? Not only is that going to tell your instructor, hey, this kid really wants it, right? When you approach the instructor, but I can tell a lot of times what's happening. The little tip that I gave you about studying here versus at home because of the potato chips and chocolate cake and distractions, that I actually gave recently because I gave my first exams and one of the students didn't do well. And then one young man who didn't do well, he was amazing. He said it outside in the hall. There were 2 or 3 students just chatting, waiting for someone to finish. And he just looked at me and goes, Miss Lopez, I didn't do any of my homework. I'm going to do all my homework for this next test. So it kind of gives you, do you know what I mean? Ask someone, what can I do different? Ask your instructors, what can I do different if you don't get what you want out of it? And they'll give you tips. Now, it's up to you. The integrity is up to you. That's you. I don't ever give free stuff in my classes. I tell students, I don't give you things for free like that because that tells you that you're not smart enough to do it on your own. I really do say that because it's true. Cheating does that too. Did you know that? When you cheat, you are in your own mind telling yourself, I'm not capable, so I might as well just cheat. And so I tell students, I'd rather you got the F because that tells you I need to do something different. If you cheat and you make an 80, now you're behind because you don't know that stuff. And you're on test number 2 and you need to know that other stuff. Do you see what I mean? At least moving forward, I could help the 50 say, hey, come, let's get you caught up. I can't help someone that doesn't do it the right way. So I always say integrity is like key. And math we have a hard time with that. But, it can work out to your advantage. It teaches you to be a good person, have integrity, do your homework.
to circle this back, that's an awful expression. If you are working on something, it's a really good idea during office hours, bring in your notes and say, look at my notes, tell me what you think. Because I'll have people that will bomb a test horribly. I'll say, let me see your notes. And I go through it. All the answers are in your notes. You wrote down, you took good notes, you just stopped at that part of the process. So that also gives you an excuse to go and talk to the professor, and you'll figure a lot out doing that. So that's a suggestion I always make.
And it's not a secret that when we know who you are, if you're at a 69 and you're like, I just want to see, right? If I know who you are,
Yes.
I'm like, man, he busted his butt every day. You know, during class, he was working. He even put one on the board one time. I'm going to give him the C.
Yes.
Same student, like, you know, in another class, I don't know who this is. Have they ever come to class? They never turned anything in, but they've got a 69 average. They're going to get the D. And that's not to be evil. I don't know who this kid is. Do you see what I mean? So all I can do is go by that. And I do that with A's and B's a lot, you know, because I'm like, man, they had an A to the very end and then they did the logarithm test, kicked their butt, you know, but they really tried. They're really, you know, now they've got an 88.9. I give them the A because they had an A on everything else.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm talking about? And you do that too.
I do that.
If we know you, so that's like what we're talking about, network, get to know them. Because when we know who you are, like when I hear the name Manuel, you know, I'm gonna help him if I can. I mean, I'm not gonna give him 5 points, but a point and a half, I could do that. So
The opposite is true as well. I'm going to know who everyone is. My classes are smaller. But if, like, okay, they were sitting there taking notes, that's good. If they're sitting
yeah,
doing that one,
texting, yeah.
like, okay, you have an 89.5. That's a B. That's not A because I wouldn't.
I guess I'm gonna open it up if anybody has any questions. That's gonna wrap it up. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask about anything? No? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, and we're gonna go ahead and do a drawing for door prize. And y'all are more than welcome to take some food.
I can't have another class. I gotta go teach Excel.
No, you have
Thank you
one.
guys so much. It was so much fun to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much for
And I'm gonna think I know you from somewhere again, so. You forgot to crunch the chips, but I'm gonna give you. They were salty, remember?
They were
Oh,
salty.
Did you try? Yeah, thank you. Guys, it was wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you
nice
very much.
to work with you for
Yeah,
like 30 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.